Debt to income ratio is something that the banks do to determine if you're a risky lender or a safe lender. A debt to income ratio is derived by dividing your monthly debt payments by your monthly gross income. The ratio is expressed as a percentage, and lenders use it to determine how well you manage your monthly debts and if you can afford to repay a loan. Generally, lenders view consumers with higher debt to income ratios as riskier borrowers because they might run into trouble repaying their loan in case of financial hardship. So, if you're out there shopping for a loan, the best option to do is get one loan and get one payment and a lower annual percentage rate than what you're paying combined to all your credit cards. Or if your annual percentage rate and your loan payment the bank offers you is similar or at least within range of what you're doing now on your credit cards and loans, you may be better off just doing it yourself without the middleman or the bank, in other words. Because if you can just do it yourself, say one day a month, make all your payments to one credit card or one loan or whatever you got going on, and you can take a little more money and pay one credit card extra money and then pay all your other debts at the same time, the minimums, all on one day of the month. It's similar to what the bank is doing. It's just giving you one payment a month, except in your case, it would be multiple payments all on one day. But if the end justifies the means, then go that way. But if the bank offers you a better offer than what you can do by yourself, well, then go through the bank. It's just a matter of what comfort level you're at and how you feel about either paying all your bills by yourself or letting the bank give you a loan and then repaying the bank. In my case, I have multiple payments. I have multiple loans, multiple credit card payments. The banks won't work with me anymore because I have a bankruptcy. And I'm not blaming the banks. I mean, they have their rules, and I don't like them, but I mean, they have their rules. But in my case, I'm looking at maybe possibly just paying everybody just one day out of the month. Because I have multiple days during the month where I owe credit cards and loans, and I'm just really getting tired of doing this. I feel like I'm chasing debt all over the place. So by the time this is recorded, I will already have my phone call from a debt solution company that's going to put me on the right path. So really, it's just up to you how you feel about paying your debts. You can go through the bank. You can get your debt to income ratio assessed, and to calculate your debt to income ratio, the bank will add up all your monthly debts, rent or mortgage payments, your student loans, your personal loans, auto loans, your credit card payments, your child support, alimony, etc., and divide the sum by your monthly income. Basically, the bank will look at all your debts and they will compare them to what your income is, and they will determine if they can lend you money. For example, if your monthly debt equals $2,500 and your gross monthly income is $7,000, your debt to income ratio is about 36%, which is pretty much where the banks want you, around 36 to 40%. Anything beyond that, they have a harder time lending because they view you as a risky lender. And there are also components to a debt to income ratio. There's a front end and a back end ratio. A front end ratio, also called the housing ratio, shows what percentage of your monthly gross income would go towards your housing expenses, including your monthly mortgage payment, property taxes, homeowners insurance, and homeowners association dues. Your back-end ratio shows what portion of your income is needed to cover all of your monthly debt obligations, plus your mortgage payments and housing expenses. This includes credit card bills, car loans, child support, student loans, and any other revolving debt that shows on your credit report. Now, I'm going to throw in an opinion here because this is where I've had my personal issues with the debt-to-income ratio. No doubt I have a lot of debt. I don't deny that. But recently, it just seems like the banks have been using everything against me. My rent, my cable, my cell, my cost of living. I mean, things that just aren't on my credit report. But they use that as part of my determination is, do I owe too much money to rent, cable, cell, monthly expenses versus, getting a loan, can I afford the payment? And my feeling is if I owe $34,000 to my credit cards and loans, and I ask the bank for $34,000 and the payment is lower than what I pay to my credit cards, what's the difference? I mean, it's just my opinion. I mean, if I'm making my payments now with my credit cards and loans, what's to say that I won't make my payment to the bank? But the banks don't see it that way, and it's a little frustrating for me. But in each individual's case, it may be different. I don't know anybody's income or anybody's level of debt. I won't even assume it because it's none of my business. All I'm saying is I'm not a real big fan of the debt to income ratio. I prefer just to do it on my own without the middleman and the restrictions and the rules of the banks. But the debt to income ratio is calculated by adding up all your monthly debts, as I had said. And then you divide some of your monthly debts by your monthly gross income, and then you convert the figure into a percentage, and that is your debt to income ratio. An ideal debt to income ratio is roughly, like I said, 36% to 40%, somewhere in that range. And a little higher than that, then the banks won't work with you. But to lower your debt to income ratio, one of the things you can certainly do is pay down on your debts and get below that 36% or even get to that 36% threshold. I think I might be over 50%. There's always a plan to pay down your debts, using the snowball method, which I will talk about in another piece. Or you can make your debt more affordable. You can call the companies and say, hey, can I get a better percentage rate, or can you work with me? One of the companies that I'm dealing with, Lending Point, has actually said to me, after I make so many monthly payments, they can renegotiate my loan for me. And I'm almost there now, but I don't think I'm going to renegotiate. I think I'm letting it go because my loans are almost done, but I'm really looking at a better way to pay them rather than pay them all through the month. I want to pay them once a month. And of course, avoid taking on more debt. That's a no-no. I've made that mistake many times. I thought by getting more loans and paying off my credit cards, I'd be able to handle it, but it just gave me the access to my credit cards again. So really, I'm not looking to use credit cards or loans anymore. I'm just looking to get everything paid off. But like I said, everybody's situation is different. I mean, the banks are there for you if you use them properly. I mean, if you keep going back to the bank, they're going to start saying, well, we've already given you money. We're not giving you any more money. You owe too much, But I honestly do find it frustrating that they're using things like, your rent, your cable, your salary, your cost of living against you. That doesn't seem right because that has nothing to do with if you can pay back your loan. If the payment's the same or lower, what's the difference? If you're paying $600 a month to your credit cards and the bank offers you $550, well, obviously you can pay it because you've been paying $600 a month to your credit cards, and you could probably pay $50 less to the bank. But again, they don't see it that way. So I'm not going to throw shade on the banks. It's just a little frustrating. But yeah, definitely assess your debt to income ratio and decide what path is best for you to pay down your debts.